Man, it's just trouble.
All right. What it do, what it is, what it ain't, what it's gonna be.
Hey.
It's another episode of Jazzy and Facts on Wax.
Bang, bang, bang.
With special guest DJ in the building.
Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing, brother?
Tell him you're now rocking with the blessed. Tell him.
Hey, the blessed.
Yeah. I'm good, man. I just been hanging out, been trying to stay busy, stay focused, and get some progress, even though it's hard. It's hard right now,
How you like working from home?
At first it was really difficult because I'm a mover and shaker. I've been moving and shaking for 20 years straight. Never had a break. So it was difficult to kind of get adjusted. But now that I'm at home and I have kind of like a flow of everything, it's comfortable. It feels better knowing that I'm not the only person too.
Right.
That's what's saving my sanity, is that I know that we're all in this together.
Yeah. And where are you at now?
Right now I'm in the Bay.
Okay.
I've been basically back and forth between LA and the Bay over the last 3 or 4 months. So I was born and raised in the Bay Area and got my start in radio and clubs in the Bay Area. And then I basically have been traveling around California my whole life. And obviously that's why I started the whole Young California thing. But I got to LA and kind of moved to LA in the last 5 years to basically work down there with like, iHeart Media and stuff down there. So I spend most of my time in Los Angeles now, but I'm running around all the time.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of your background. So you was born in the Bay, or?
Yeah. So I was basically born about an hour north of San Francisco, and it's basically like the wine country when you hear about Napa and all that stuff. Yeah. So I live on the working class side of all that, but it's gotten much nicer in the last since I've been around. It basically has turned into more wine country. They basically expanded it out. So that's basically where I'm from. E40, her, a lot of that. Those are the neighbors.
Come on,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So keep naming that.
There's a lot of people that basically came out of here and had a rich music scene. And I started. When I was a kid, I was getting into a lot of trouble in high school, so I ended up going into a group home, and the group home kind of saved me, and it basically got me away.
Amen.
That's actually where the name came from.
Okay, cool.
So I basically was a bad kid turned around, and I started going to the junior college out here, and they launched the first ever hip hop radio station in a super small market. And I got a job as one of the first mixers there. And at that time, me and my friends were throwing like the biggest college parties. Like every Thursday night, we had an 18 and up party that had like over 1,000 college kids every week for months, for like a year. And we were just cashing out. We were making so much money, and we were young. And then I started the longest running all local artists concert series. I threw like 20 or 30 concerts back to back, sold out, like 20, 30 shows every month. So when I started doing all that stuff and kind of running my area, that's when I got the opportunity to go to KMEL in San Francisco, which is like the legendary heritage station in the Bay. And so I was mixing there for like 15 years. And from there, that's when I kind of got the idea to start Young California, which was basically like a DJ collective. Mm-hmm. And we ended up with like 40 DJs all over California, at all the different radio stations and lifestyle clubs, all that. And we were.
What got you into DJing? How was it your love for hip hop, or what really got you into DJing?
I have an older brother that's 4 years older than me, and he was into graffiti. So he's like really dope artist. So when I was young, I got exposed to it really early, and I got exposed to what I say is the perfect way I got exposed to like the old school stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, like I was listening to like Africa Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash, even
Yes.
though it was way later after that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting into like just really the culture of hip hop. Like I was listening to everything, the current music and the old school stuff. And
You jump right into it using techniques, or what were you using?
Nah, so I think I was trying to break dance and I was terrible at it. So I remember in the back of the Source magazines, they used to have all those, they used to have record stores where you could like basically mail order DJ setups.
Yeah.
And I had some like old ass belt drive Geminis, which is like impossible to DJ on. But I remember for Christmas one year, I begged my dad. I was like, "Come on, man, come on!" And it's crazy because looking back at it now, it's probably only like $300.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But still, it was
a big deal back then.
It was a big deal. So that's really kind of how it all happened. And from there, I think that everybody around me saw how passionate I was about it, and they were like, "Yo, he really wants to do this." And he really wants to make this happen. So I was probably like 14 or 15 around that time. And my brother had a friend that was like in and out of the Army that he bought his old techniques off him. Wow. And my brother got them for me. They were just some used techniques. But as soon as I got those, it was like,
it's done. Yeah. It's done. Shout out to Big Bro, man. Shout out to Big Bro.
Yeah. So he put me on that. And, the last, I would say almost like 20 years has been crazy, man. It's just the
Was DJ Amen your first DJ name, or did you have some before?
Nah, so my real name is Adam.
Okay.
And my brother was like, "We're gonna call you DJ Damn It, but it's DAMIT." Okay. Because the Adam. And then so when I got to the, and this is when I was the bad kid. Okay. So when I got to the radio station, they were like, "We're not gonna say damn it on the radio. Like that's not gonna happen."
Yeah.
And I had just got out of the group home, so my brother was like, "Nah, man, we're gonna call you Amen now," and that's basically how it changed. And when he said it, it was like lightning in a bottle, man. It was just like, damn, I wanted something short to the point. Something that everybody knows, something that when I shake your hand and say, "I'm Amen," they're going to be like, "Oh shit, that like for real, that's your name," or like something that sticks with people. And also I was really big on branding and marketing. And so I wanted something like, the best example I can give is like the word Target. When I say Target, you think of the store now.
Yeah.
But before the store, it was a Target.
It was a Target.
Yeah. And so that's what I really wanted to do with the Amen thing is like, I wanted to really brand it and go hard. And when people say Amen out here, I wanted them to be like the DJ, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
So that, I got really lucky though, and fortunate with a lot of things falling into place for me.
Yeah. At around that time, like what were some of the DJs that you were like looking up to, or like if you had to carry some crates, or if you, like what was going on out there in the Bay around that time?
Back in the day in the Bay, there like the radio DJs were like the gods. Yeah. Like it was one of those markets because some markets it's like the club guys, it's the mixtape guys, or out in the Bay, it's always been the radio guys. So if you were on the radio back in the 90s, 2000s,
you was the man.
You were the man. You were paid. And you were a household name because radio was really big. And we had the Bay is known for having some of the best DJs, Qbert, all that stuff. So you have to be good in the Bay. Like you're not going to be half-assing it. So Mind Motion, Rick Lee, Scotty Fox, those were like the big radio dudes when I was coming up. And those were the guys that basically I got my style from. Okay. Where I basically took what they were doing and then tried to, kind of create my own lane. And when I finally got to work with them, they ended up, I ended up being like the youngest guy on the squad with them.
Wow.
When I got to the station.
So that mean they liked your style and they respected you.
Well, I respected them, and I made
of course.
I made it very clear that like I'm not here without y'all.
Yeah. So, but they had to see. The thing is, I think. It's just like any once you reach a point, you've been DJing, you see some talent in somebody, as the older guy, you bringing them up, you showing them a few things, you dropping gems, and you know what I'm saying. So, listen, they did a great job, my brother.
So I basically took all their creative and cleanliness, like a lot, the way that they blended and all that stuff. I basically took that and just tried to show respect to them by doing a good job first and foremost. But then when I got to the radio station, I realized that, you know, the game is not about stepping on people's toes. It's about finding your own lane and creating something that's not there, filling a void that can complement being on that team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the Young California thing came about was, you know, these DJs were known for whatever they were doing, whether it was, you know, so they owned the magazines, they did nightclubs. And I wanted to, what I did is I got with the youth, like I got with the young artists coming up. And because, you know, they supported it, but like I was really at these people's houses, you know what I mean? Like I was helping them make music and like do all that stuff, because that was kind of the only way that I could see myself fitting into this picture was by creating something that wasn't, you know, just like a conflict of interest for anybody else around me.
And I remember my first couple of times going back and forth to Cali, and, you know, just being a female DJ, I'm looking and see like, okay, who the female DJs, you know, in Cali and da-da-da. And that's when I came across DJ Charisma. And then, you know, I saw that she was, you know, representing with the Young California, and I was hosting mixtapes with like Unsigned Hype, the up and coming artists and stuff. So I would always kind of see Young California. So that's when I started kind of following the movement, like back in, man, I think that was like maybe 2013, 14, maybe.
Yeah, it's been about 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy because you know, I was in the Bay working with all these artists, and I just realized, well, I had talked to somebody and they were like, yo, there's this girl in LA that's doing the exact same thing you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically went down to set up a meeting and went down there and met her, and I was like, oh shit, she really is like, she's me, but down here.
Mm-hmm.
So we were both kind of underdogs. We were both working with, you know, the young artists. We both had a lot to prove. And once I connected with her, I basically I got in a car and went to every city in California and found the Amen and Charisma in those cities.
That's dope.
And that's how we created the Young California thing, because
you had a goal in mind.
Yeah, so I was like, yo, we got to figure this out. And basically, you know, the internet's popping. Everything is starting to come into play with streaming. It's a new way of doing things. And I was trying to cut down the translation time, because in the history of hip hop music, you know, the Bay was E40 and Too Short.
Mm-hmm.
In LA was Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Snoop,
you know what I mean? And one of them was like a sample heavy G-funk, and the other one was more of like a hyphy mob music. You know what I mean? It was like they were close, but they were two different things. And it would take a long time for a record to break in LA and then for it to break in the Bay, because this was really before, you know, it's like early blogging days.
Right. Yeah.
So it was really before streaming was like Rap Caviar and shit.
Yeah.
But that was really the idea, was like, how do we eliminate this translation time? If I'm on the radio in the Bay and you're in the radio in LA, like, if something's hot, it's hot. It should happen at the same time. Right. And that's really what we did with Young California. It was the first time it had ever happened in the history of hip hop music out here. And we cross-pollinated. So it ended up becoming the norm. Like, you know, back then it would be like the HBK gang kids and like YG and Ty Dolla $ign when they, you know, early. And what we would do is we'd put them in the studio together. Like, we make them make songs together. Oh wow, yeah. And the sound ended up evolving into the same sound, which is like where the DJ Mustard stuff comes from. Is that's like, Mustard was heavily influenced from, you know, like LA and the Bay. Right. And basically cross-pollinating all that stuff, you know, created this insane movement. And I remember going to New York on one for, I think, like the DJ Awards or something. I forget what it was.
Global Spins or something.
Yeah, we went to New York for like the first one or something. And we went up to the radio station out there, and they were playing like they were doing their countdown, whatever, you know, the top 5 at 5, whatever it is.
Right, right.
And all the records were DJ Mustard records. And
Yeah.
and I never thought in my life that New York would be playing our music like that.
Right.
Like, I knew they support it like we support them, but I never thought that it would get that big. And I mean, you guys remember, there was a year where Mustard probably cranked out 100 records.
Oh, he was going crazy.
And they were all singles. And, you know, and we were sitting there the whole time, like, nurturing all that and making sure that, you know, I remember going out to Dallas, Texas one time, and I heard 2 Chainz, I'm Different on the radio. And, you know, Texas is slow. Yeah. So when that record came on, it stood out so crazy. But I was like, damn, we're up to something. Like, this is, you know, this is crazy.
I think it's just the power of the internet, man. I think the internet has brought all of this shit to light. Yeah. And so, you know,
now it's commonplace, but
exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, man.
For sure.
And the power of the DJ as well.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time, like, man, you got a lot of influence, and it's really, you know, up to you to make sure you use that superpower for good.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
what was some of those artists that you worked with that pretty much, you can say, I guess, benefited from Young California, or that you saw them from the beginning of their career to
every artist from the West, every artist from the West Coast in the last 10 years, no matter who it is, no matter if I have a personal relationship with them or not, every artist on the West Coast has benefited from what we started in the last 10 years. I mean, everybody, you know, there was like, you know, all this like ratchet fun club music that was happening, and then Kendrick Lamar was like the counter to that. You know what I mean? So like all that stuff, it all came out of that. It was like this ecosystem that we created, and we supported it. And to this day, we still, you know, we're still doing it. It's just on a much bigger scale, because instead of being like these underdog kids that are like, hey, look at us, we're doing something. It's like we're the ones doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Name a couple of those artists that you remember, like your first time hearing them, whether it was Kendrick or whomever. Like your first time, you're like, oh, this girl or guy finna go crazy.
I mean, on the Bay side at that time, like starting, it was the HBK kids, which is I Am Sue, Sage the Gemini, P-Lo, Kehlani, you know, all that. And then there's, you know, we helped G-Eazy out a lot. And then we helped out like a lot of the OGs, like E40 and Too Short, you know, all that. And then in LA, you know, it was the same thing on the other side, except it was like Ty, YG, OT Genesis, you know, it was like all that stuff that was coming out. And I mean, even Kendrick, Tyga, you know, it's literally whoever in the last 10 years, you know, because we've had so many guys on so many radio stations and so many nightclubs, you know, creating so much content.
So with being a radio DJ and club DJ, how do you figure out the two? Because sometimes that can be, you know, you got your radio hits, you got your club hits, but how do you figure out, I guess?
You know, it's crazy because radio is driven by a lot of data. Like a lot of it comes from data, and you know, I basically get paid to have a good ear, like being the music director of, you know, radio stations. So I feel like I've just done it so much, and I know what works because I've looked at so much data, like results, that you know, nobody knows everything, or else we'd be rich. But you know, the radio thing is really based on how people consume music overall, and a lot of people. The club thing is more of like an energy and a vibe. Like you go into a club and you kind of see what works and what doesn't. Right. Now, because I've been doing it for so long, like I know how to position records and program it. So I know that if I'm going to try this record, I better put it in between some hits.
Right, too,
So, and I got to talk it up and make sure that I really like drive it home that, you know, this is some new shit this is going to be big in a month or whatever the case is. I mean, all of it though is programming. If you understand music programming, I mean, that's really how you have the ace in your hand. That's really how you get ahead. Because you could have all this talent and skill and be able to scratch and juggle and do all this stuff. But if you don't know how to really program, you're only going to get so far. You know what I mean? And that's I've been really blessed to have the opportunity to go from my bedroom, all the way to, I pretty much like oversee with my team, the biggest urban station on the West Coast, the number 2 urban station in the country. Yeah. So, I mean, that's about as big as it gets as far as like having an education and the knowledge of programming.
Yeah, and you're the music director at 92.3, right?
Yeah, in LA, and then I just recently have been helping out with our national urban team, like building out and running other radio stations as well. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening in the future that's gonna kind of like unveil itself.
Yeah, I got you. And for some people that don't know exactly what that title means, if you don't mind, like break down like the title and how how important it is.
So in radio, I mean, as a DJ, you basically, if you're mixing the music on air, you would be a mixer. If you're talking on air, you would be an on-air personality. So the person in charge of the music is the music director, and the person in charge of the overall program, the on-air personalities, is the program director. Mm-hmm. And basically, the music director reports to the overall program director. But it's basically a second in charge type of thing, unless there's an assistant to the program director, then the music director is the third. But it's like those 3 people are really the team that makes sure that what you're hearing on the radio is on point at all times. And then there's also like the sales staff, the promotion staff. So there's a promotions director, a sales director, there's just a bunch of departments. But music director would basically be that you are in charge of the music on the radio station. So what the DJs are playing, what's playing in regular rotation. You basically oversee the playlist of a radio station.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's pivot a little bit and talk about DJ A-Man as the, without the radio behind, just DJ A-Man as the DJ. So were you a tour DJ for anyone? I feel like you were a tour DJ.
I feel on the West Coast, I would do like spot dates for a lot of people. When G-Eazy was really having his run, he had DJ Quiz from New York is actually his tour DJ, but I would basically fill in for Quiz for a lot of the stuff if Quiz was busy. So like, I'm downplaying it by saying fill in because it's like Good Morning America and Jimmy Kimmel.
Right.
Right.
And like, big nightclubs in Las Vegas and all that stuff. But yeah, I've done basically spot dates with everybody from E40 to Too Short to, I've DJ'd for everybody on the West Coast pretty much, outside of a couple big names that probably just blew up too fast, to need that type of help. Right. But yeah, I've done the running around with artists. And I also DJ for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, so, that's dope.
Now, are you a 49ers fan?
Yeah, of course I am.
First of all, he has to say that. Like, even if he wasn't a fan, like,
they're not gonna let you be in that position without that. The fans are crazy. I used to do some of the games for the Sacramento Kings because I helped fill in for them one season too at basketball. I've never done baseball or soccer or anything like that, but a couple of my friends do it.
So let me ask you this. So when did you start DJing for the 49ers?
Yeah, 5 years ago, probably.
5 years ago. Okay, so I grew up. Listen, bro. I grew up as a fucking Jerry Rice fanatic.
That's the GOAT, man.
I used to fucking love Jerry Rice, my friend.
Yeah. Him, you still
Steve Young. I still do. Him, Steve Young, Montana. Like those guys, I was definitely
I was a Cowboys fan, so I liked them, but to a certain extent.
Hey, the Cowboys are America's team, man. They got fans everywhere. But the Niners is definitely one hell of a franchise. And growing up in the 90s, obviously, I grew up on Joe and Jerry. You know what I mean? And So when I got the call for the opportunity, man, like that, it's beyond words. And, just this last year, we went to the Super Bowl. Obviously,
I
we
was going
took
to
that.
say, did you DJ for the Super Bowl?
I actually went to Miami and got to DJ. So
That's dope.
it was really dope, man. And it's been such a blessing. And, you show up somewhere and you DJ for like, 40, 60,000 people. Like there ain't nothing bigger than that, man. I was telling somebody the other day, I think the only thing bigger than that is doing like, soccer World Cup style or the Olympics. Like, I don't know if there's anything bigger than 60,000 people in the stadium. And I
mean, some of these festivals, it's about the same amount of people.
Yeah, but we're talking a resident DJ.
Right.
Different.
Yeah, it's like I see you on Sunday, you know what I mean?
Right. I see you every Sunday.
With family.
Right. But it's
So you feel like that's like the highlight of your career? You feel like that's the top?
The playoffs this year and doing all that stuff at home, man, I've never felt the energy or seen an energy like that ever, man. And it's like I'll remember that for the rest of my life for sure. Getting the jobs at these radio stations were dreams come true too. Like, everything. I've been so lucky and, blessed, for lack of better words, that I've just been able to really just be a part of some amazing situations. And I even myself, I have to step back because, you grind every day. You kind of have to take a step back and be like, damn, man, like this is crazy to go from the bedroom, all the way to the Super Bowl in Miami. I've been, I've DJ'd in Japan. I DJ on the radio every day for Los Angeles, and you can hear that radio station all the way to Mexico. Like,
exactly.
It's a big deal. So, it's crazy. It's just persistence and passion.
Yeah.
And then the opportunities come.
I noticed you got a movement going on now with the DJ Relief Fund. So talk about that, man, and how that's been going.
Yeah. So basically, when the COVID thing hit and, we were doing our last gigs, things started to get really weird. Everything was very uncertain. And, as soon as it happened, I knew it was going to be bad for us. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be or how long it was going to be. So, about a month in, I started really just like getting everything, like this idea had come to me and I started like mobilizing on it. I was like, yo, I got to do something because I have a really good platform and a lot of relationships. Like, this thing's going to go on for a while, because that's when we figured out that it was, it was here to stay.
Yeah.
And I had talked to a lot of DJs across the country, and there's a lot of people that had the same ideas. And, most notably Envy in New York, he put together a DJ fund, and I think he raised like
shout out to Envy.
Yeah. He raised like 100K. I think it was like in a week or something.
Yeah.
But,
it's crazy. I saw that.
He's probably the most successful hip hop radio DJ in the country. So, he kind of had the same situation going on, and I'm no Envy. Like, that man is very, very successful. But I figured, like, for how big California is huge. Yeah. It's like, one of the biggest economies in the world. And there's a lot of DJs out here. And I said, man, if I can just at least focus on that and just do my part for the people that I'm around all the time and working with, that would be big. So I basically put the whole thing together and got with the Young California homies and basically said, hey, like, let's try and make a difference. And, we got on the phones and it got a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Originally, I thought I was going to raise like $25,000 and I was going to be cool to take care of my squad.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, so it kicked off big. I was on the phone dealing with like the banks and GoFundMe and Cash App. Like, there's like limits on all this stuff. So I had to work with all these companies to like figure out, how can I get this money immediately and how can I get it out immediately? Because these people, at that point, DJs hadn't been DJing for months, like probably almost 2 months. So I was like, yo, these like even myself, you know, without the radio station, I mean, I probably, there was a year where I did 250 gigs in 1 year. And, you know, I've toned down a lot since I've, you know, put my energy into the radio stuff. But that's a big part of my income. So I know DJs that have kids, you know what I mean? That it's their main source of money. So I just really did what I could. And me and all the homies started calling all our homies. And, you know, before you know it, it was just like the money just kept coming in and these artists really stepped up. And it was like the one time that, you know, we don't ask these artists for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
We for sure barely get anything.
Right.
So this is the one time that I was like, look, man, like, you know, a lot of y'all are rich off of us. And we're doing bad. So, you know, if you could look out, I've basically put together a system where you can help a lot of people with a little bit of money. And so shit, in a couple weeks, we raised $130,000 and basically got money out to over 250, 260 DJs.
Y'all got some money left over?
So that's the craziest part is that, you know, we were doing all this stuff and I'm doing all this work and I wasn't sleeping for 2 weeks and like, you know, just dealing with all these people. And, you know, when you're dealing with people that are having hardships, like financial stuff turns into mental problem. Like there's like, you know, you start dealing with a lot of deep stuff and, you know, I'm talking to 250 DJs basically telling me their problems. And so it's like, a lot of it was just really draining. And then it was crazy how it happened. It was like, as soon as I got out the last of the money, you know, the Black Lives Matters like protest started and everything, like the whole world shifted. Like we went from putting all our time and energy into figuring out how we're going to provide for our families into now it's like, we got to mobilize for this.
Right.
And, you know, that's 2020 for you. You know what I mean? It keeps kicking and kicking, but you know, you just gotta keep going. So, yeah, man, I kept the fund open because I don't want to I never wanted to shut it down so that there's a DJ out there like, oh, you shut it down before I got some, you know what I mean?
Right.
So the fund I've kept active. There hasn't been a lot of money coming in because donations have been going to other causes, obviously. But you know, to this day, I've still been talking to DJs and trying to figure out, you know, a bunch of different opportunities and ways for DJs to either get paid or get looks. And
how do you donate? Is it like a website you go to, or what's the?
Basically, you can go to GoFundMe.com/DJ Relief Fund, or you can go to YoungCalifornia.com and there's links there. You can go to my Instagram, Twitter, whatever, @DJ Amen3000. And everything's there. It's all one. Everything redirects, and it's basically anybody can donate online. And the money basically, you know, we send a one-time $500 gift to every DJ, and that way we can get kind of like around the tax stuff to where the DJ can take the money and actually just use it and not have to worry about it.
You're getting taxed.
Yeah. So
let me ask you kind of a personal question. Do you have any kids or?
I don't have any kids.
Have any kids.
Yeah.
You have nieces and nephews.
Man, I know a lot of kids.
So okay. So you know. So I'm asking this because, you know, like you said, the Black Lives Matter thing, and this all started happening so fast. And I was going to ask you if you have any nieces and nephews, or what's that conversation like with any kids in your life? Like, how are you talking about that right now?
I think there's a lot, you know, with the COVID thing is a lot. Like, you got to explain to these children, like, why we're stuck in the house, you know what I mean? And dealing with that, I think has been really hard for us. And I mean, that is like a civilization across the world, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's one thing, just to like not have kids feel scared or uncomfortable. And
I think we lost you. Can you hear him, Jazzy?
No, I can't hear you, Amen. You might be on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Back.
Okay. I don't know where it cut off.
Yeah.
But basically, I've been spoiled living in California because, especially in the Bay Area, because we grew up in such a liberal place.
Right.
Like, I mean, in the Bay, white, black, brown, Asian,
Y'all
like
all everybody just together.
It's all the same thing. So it's like that. That's why hip hop is like so big and beautiful in the Bay Area, because it's always just like, hip hop culture has just been embraced, and that's how culture in general is out here. You know what I mean? Everybody embraces each other. So I've been super fortunate to live out here to where, I think everybody, for the most part, kind of understands right and wrong. And people have been raising their kids that way. Yeah. And people for the most part, out here, they raise their kids, but then you kind of get to the outskirts, and then you get that whole other shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just about explaining to everybody that, like, we're taught hate. Like, we're not born with hate.
Not born at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, you really got to drive that home, and we really got to do our best to like tell the youth and the kids that, like, like this is something that is being manufactured around you, and something that, people want you to believe, but it's not the truth.
Yeah. I use this analogy all the time. I say, like, if you put a black infant and a white infant in the room and together, and they're gonna grow up thinking that they're brothers for the rest of their life until they get on the outside world. And that's when people are like, no, you're white and he's black. So I'm like, no, we grew up together. It's no.
And I just been really fortunate to grow up in a household and surrounded by people that, really, it's always been like that. You know what I mean? Even with like, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever you are, it don't matter. Black, white, purple, whatever it is. Like, I've been fortunate to be raised in that situation, but I think really it really is an educational process, because the stuff you see online, you're just like, man.
Yeah. Right.
And so we from the South, so it's
totally different. It's totally different.
Night and day.
I actually remember going to Atlanta for the first time, and I remember going to Texas for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember that that's like the main thing that they tell us. It's like, hey, when you go out here, shit's gonna be different. It's gonna be different. Yeah. So be ready for that. And man, it's like education,
of course.
And
that is key.
And that's really what it is. And there's a lot of different ways to attack this, and we really just got to figure out the best,
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job too of figuring it out.
I think our generation has definitely done a great job, and I think the generations coming after us are going to do an even better job. But it just sucks that we're looking at hundreds of years of oppression.
Yeah.
That, like, why the fuck wasn't this figured out before? Like,
right.
And I think it's important. Like, right now, the conversation they have started the conversation, so you can't avoid it. No matter what, you can't avoid it right now. And we have to give props to this younger generation.
Yeah, the line has been drawn in the sand for sure. And it's like, it's very apparent, like, where you stand.
Where you stand. Which side are you on? Like, we need to understand.
But luckily, out here, I was fortunate to be surrounded by people that just full of love. And, and, that's just what we have to do. We have to get that, we have to spread that love and really figure out how to eliminate the hate. And we gotta make sure that these kids know that shit is not real, it's not right, and the shit's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
They gotta do better by looking at all this shit, seeing all this shit. They gotta know, like, man, these people are fucked up. Like, we can't be them.
Okay. Yeah.
We can't be them.
Exactly.
All right, let's tap into your personal playlist right now.
Oh,
so man. Who you vibing with? Who you rocking with?
What's
on your Apple Music or your iHeartRadio? What you vibing to?
Man, it's funny because I listen to a lot of stuff. I obviously will always be a West Coast Bay Area guy. So, I'm always going to be slapping some E40, whether it's new or old or whatever the case is.
Yes. And I just want to say I love E40. Like,
yeah, man.
That's one person, like, I would love to just kick it with E40 all day.
Hey, I'm telling you, I talk to him all the time, and it's amazing, bro. He's that guy for real.
Yeah.
And if you know what he's talking about, it's even greater. Because I'm literally from the same area code as him.
Okay.
So I grew up around the same shit. So like his vernacular and like the stuff he's saying, the slang, like I know everything he's talking about. And it's funny because I meet people from out of town and they just like, oh, I love him, but he be saying crazy ass shit. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, everything he's saying makes perfect sense.
Hey, listen, a lot of this shit I don't understand, but the shit the nigga just
sound good.
It don't matter. It sound good. Like, if E40 said it, the shit is amazing.
When it's all said and done, he's literally gonna go down as one of the greatest rappers of all time, just on the strength of vocabulary and all the slang he's created and uses, and it's fun to listen to. You know what I mean? It's entertaining, and you're just like, damn, what's he gonna say next? I'm telling you, I call him, talk to him all the time, and be like, man, you're a fool for this one. Yeah. Like,
so who's your top 5 West Coast artists though?
I'd have to give it to my personal.
This your personal. This is yours.
We're talking all time.
All time.
It's definitely E40, Pac. I definitely got to put Snoop in there. Okay. For all time.
You got two more. You got two more. You moving fast. You moving fast.
Man, it's just for the young cast. I just feel like it's really early to kind of like say that because the stats really aren't there yet. It's sheesh.
Short Dog.
Like I personally love Too Short. Like he personally could be in my top 5. I know that because his he doesn't have like the widest vocabulary, craziest flow that some people wouldn't put him there. But I could definitely see him in my top 5.
Okay.
And
I want to say this. While you think of the other one, the South loves Too Short.
We love
Too Short. For sure. I mean, he lived in Atlanta for a long time.
Yes.
And the stuff and the music he made with Lil Jon, this is crazy. Lil Jon has made the biggest Bay Area records probably of all time, outside of like MC Hammer or whatever. Yeah. But the Tell Me When to Go, the Blow the Whistle is arguably the biggest DJ record in Bay Area history. Yeah. But he did a lot of those records around that time, and he probably made the best Bay Area records for DJs for like the clubs and the all that. I don't know who the 5th one is, man. It's hard because Kendrick is really dope, and I love Outkast, and I feel like Kendrick really was kind of like a newer version of like what Outkast was trying to do.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at that. It's my first time hearing that.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah, but if you really just trip off of that, I think there's definitely something there. And Andre's definitely one of the greatest of all times.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Ice Cube was so dope back in the day too.
Man, I was wondering if you was gonna say Cube.
Yeah, man. I think everybody says Cube when they put up a top 5 from the West Coast.
Yeah.
You went out again. Can you hear him, Jazzy?
No, I can't hear you, amen. But now one more time.
Hold on. Can you hear me yet?
Yep.
I can hear you, but
okay.
Yeah.
Kind of froze though.
I'm not sure why. I can see you guys, but
okay, there we go.
So there you go. You're back. Yeah.
Yeah, but Cube in his prime, he was tearing people apart, man.
It's crazy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, man. So at this point, man, what motivates you now? What you saving the world? You saving DJs? You know what I'm saying? We definitely appreciate all of that. So what's driving a man right now? What's driving you right now?
I think it's just the education, man. I definitely think that DJing is going to go in a different route, and I think that what's happening right now is going to change the story of what what it is to be a DJ. I know when it comes back, it's going to be hard. I know everyone's going to want to go to the club when everything is better. But I'm not sure that that's going to last. And I know that the Twitch thing has popped in with the streaming and the technology, but when people go back to their normal routines, I'm not sure that they'll be streaming the same way. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. It's going to have to evolve.
Yes,
of course. Period. It has, though.
Yeah. So
even with the controllers and the things that we were just talking, like people are using controllers. So of course it is going to continue to evolve, you know?
Yeah. And I think that DJing as we know it might be in its last days. I think that it'll eventually evolve into something else, something new. And whatever it is, it'll be cool. It'll be dope. You know what I mean? It'll be awesome. It'll be some shit that we never would have thought of 20 years before. But what keeps me going, because I don't want to sound like super dark saying that.
But shit, he didn't ruin this shit.
What keeps me going is just the continuous education. You know what I mean? Like I went from, you know, DJing at home, doing mixtapes, doing clubs, concerts, you know, doing arenas and stadiums, and, you know, to the biggest radio stations. And that's what it is. It's always progressing. It's like, you know, what's the new challenge? What can I learn that, you know, will help me in whatever the next phase is? And right now I really feel like I'm getting my master's degree in like programming. Like I said,
nice.
That, and hopefully I'll be able to use that in whatever the next step is.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So I honestly don't know what the future holds, and I never, you know, you can't really say. So
I think that's a great answer, man.
You just gotta be ready.
Continue to keep.
Yeah, you gotta just be ready for what's next, and that's, you know, you gotta be active and make sure that, you know, you continuously are building your brand and putting up points, because that's really what it is. Whoever puts up the most points wins, man.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head with education with me. As long as we continue to grow, and I told people, like, if, you know, I was telling a couple of my homies, it's like, you know, if you didn't come out of quarantine with some type of something, I learned something, I read something, I did something, like, come on, like, it was too much time on our hands during quarantine. So
have you picked up any new skills or new like hobbies or like just new anything with quarantining?
Oh, sorry, it cut out. I completely cut out when you said you were telling some of your homies.
Oh, no, I was saying like how important education is. And I was just talking to a couple of my homies, and I'm like, yo, if you didn't come out of quarantine, you know, just if you haven't read a book, if you haven't figured out something educational, something in some way, form, or fashion, you know, grown spiritually or mentally, physically, like, I don't know what you were doing. Like, you just wasted a lot of time, and that's the one thing we can't get back is time. So
yeah, that's really been a big thing for. I mean, I know every DJ is kind of like in a different part of their career, but for me, like where I'm at, this is, like I said, the first time in 20 years that I was able to sit down and have 3 meals a day and like chill out and, you know, focus on myself or whatever.
Got the quarantine 15?
Oh, I definitely, I've been working on it.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was crazy. I did the opposite, man.
You were working out every day?
Yeah, I was working out. I was heavy. I was working out heavy. So
yeah, man. I mean, I've been actually riding my bike. My dad rides his bike every day, and so when I came to stay with him to kind of like take care of everybody, I was like, yo, I'm gonna get on this bike too, because like, you know, we had the time and it's fun. We get to spend time together.
Absolutely.
And then my brother started coming. He brought his bike, so we would all just be riding around town 10 miles at a time.
Good cardio.
Know? Yeah, I mean, it don't do nothing for you as far as losing weight, but it's just.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
wait 1 second. How far?
Joyriding.
Like, if you only ride, listen, hey man, if you only ride like a mile.
No, I wasn't doing a mile, but I'm not doing like 50 miles.
Yeah, so, there's people out here that's like riding their bike 50 miles. Like,
I got some homies that are putting up like 45-mile posts.
That's crazy.
And it's cool. Like I'm down to ride with them, but at the same time, this is the same homies that have told me they have not lost a single pound. So
Hey,
Yeah, man.
so you basically saying they ride 10 and walk 10.
I mean, it's honestly, it's just fun to get out and just see, just
Yeah.
this is something we'll never be able to do again.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And time with your parents is always priceless. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. This whole thing, like, I know that we, sometimes we get super frustrated. We're stuck in the house and like all that, but like this will never happen again. Like we will never have this opportunity probably in our lifetimes as far as, being able to really just fall back, chill, and have dinner with your family every night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. So what's next for Amen? What's your next moves?
I'm working on the next moves. They're all falling into place, man. I'm
Okay.
working on promotions. That's what I'm working on,
Yeah.
man.
Speak that into existence.
Yeah, man. I just the bosses looked out for me in the last couple of weeks, and I don't know. There probably ain't gonna be a press release or anything like that, but I'm working on promotions.
Okay.
I just locked one in last week. I just started a new situation, so
congratulations.
yeah, man. And that's really what I'm trying to do is just figure out ways to make the most of what I have, because I definitely am not getting none of that club money right now.
Right.
So I want to just try and max out with what I can do.
Well, listen, man, we definitely thank you for taking this.
No, it's all good. I feel like I did all the talking. You didn't tell me nothing about you.
Oh, what?
It's about you.
It's really about you. See, y'all people already know about us, so we,
nah, that's all good.
Man,
I appreciate it, man, and to everybody out there, all the DJs, like I said, it's putting up points, man. It's really who works the hardest, and when you do get to a place of success, or what people call success, and you have your platform, you got to make sure that you give back with it. You got to make sure that what I mean. People looked out for you on your way up. You got to make sure you look out for people. And I mean, I don't know what everybody believes in or whatever the case is, whether it's God or the universe or whatever your beliefs are, but there's definitely a reason that you are where you are, good or bad. So it's up to you, to get right and really speak it into existence, like you said. And when you get to where you want it to be, make sure you help other people out, because you
and listen, man, you just challenged me to give back more, and I want to thank you, amen.
No,
right?
It's all good, man. I don't know how I'm gonna top 130,000 though.
That's okay.
No, me personally, I'm gonna have to figure out what's next, man, because honestly,
it'll come.
Honestly, like of all the things I've done and all the accomplishments I've had, nothing has felt remotely better than helping my entire culture out here in California. Like all the biggest DJs, the OG DJs, the little DJs, like to be able to call them and say, bro, you don't have to do nothing for this money. I got this for you. Like, and I'm telling you, nothing feels better than that. Nothing is more rewarding than that. And like, I pray that I'll be able to like continue and, and be able to, create more and more opportunities for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, definitely, man. Thank you for your time, man.
It's all good. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, drop where we can hear your mix shows at, your handles and all of that.
Yeah, at DJ Amen 3000 on every website you can think of, and Pacific Standard Time, about 10:50 a.m. I jump on Real 923. You can listen at real923.com or real923la.com/listen, or you just go to the iHeartRadio app and just go to Real 923, and you can basically stream from anywhere. So, yeah, man, 49er games.
Yeah.
That's
it. We're done.
And once all these clubs open back up, anytime you come to California, you could tap in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I appreciate you, Amen, man. It's been real.
I appreciate you guys.
It's been another episode of Jazzy and Facts.
Bang.
On wax, baby.
Yeah.